Good evening, everyone. Please hope you can hear me. I asked permission from Felicia to use voice notes, which will probably make it smoother. Hope this is okay. All right, so I will start by giving a little bit about me. I'm sure you've seen this in the profile. It's not like some superhuman, superhero thing. It's just a little bit of adventure, curiosity, and God's grace. So I've been in wireless networking. That means I was involved in a lot of internet when wireless networks were popular. What you call 802.11 A, B, and G. I used to mount radios, Unuki radios, YDI radios, and all those things in Port Harcourt, in Abuja. The first time I did that was when I was doing my IT back in 2003 thereabout, and I enjoyed it, and I was because one of the things that caught my attention in that area was the fact that before then I was assembling computers, and I said to myself I didn't want a career assembling computers using pirated software, so I wanted to kind of like do something that would be more sustainable, more long term. That's why I went to wireless networking based on the opportunity that came my way. After that, when I graduated, I worked in Abuja for about 6 months, came to Lagos, worked a bit with the same man, but the different company. His name is Igiri. So he really helped me with teaching me all those things. I did a little bit of CCNA there. And then, but after a while, they didn't pay for a while when I worked there before my service year. So after my service year, I got another opportunity with Airtel. It was a contract job in the service desk. That's how I started my journey in IT service management. From there, I moved to application support, database administration. My database administration came mostly because while I was doing application support in Airtel, I started delving into SQL Server, and I will share the testimony shortly of how I moved from Airtel in Nigeria to eProcess in Accra through someone's recommendation. And from managing databases and leading the database team for a few years, I went into enterprise architecture just last year. And a week or two ago, I was told that I have to focus on data architecture. So in order to inspire a lot of people, I want to share one or two stories from my journeys in these areas, because this is mostly about our careers. I studied in Futo. I studied electrical electronics engineering in Futo. And Futo, some of us know the school and how it used to be in those days. Before I went into Futo, we used to hear of the fact that Futo had their 4-day exams. 4-day exams means maybe you do math in the morning, physics in the afternoon, chemistry the next morning, maybe English the next morning, chemistry in the afternoon, and so on and so forth. In 4 days, you've written 8 papers, and people used to faint in the hall, all those kind of things. When I got in, it was an 8-day exam in year 1. 4 exams this week, 4 exams next week. Besides that, it was relatively tough too, not just because of the academics, but because of the conditions of the school. Some of the schools in Nigeria had it better. I think we were 24 in my room, and you had to get to class early. We were like 180 in my class if you wanted to stay in front, and so on. So those things were there. They were part of the molding aspects of my life. And when I was doing wireless networking, I'll just share one or two things. I've seen someone die from falling to 60 feet. Yeah, about 60 feet. He was drunk, he was climbing up the mast, and he fell. And as soon as he fell, he hit the ground. That was it. But I myself, I have climbed 120 feet in Port Harcourt. That was my highest. At that point, you can see almost the whole city, because I used to mount antennas. I've also climbed a lot of roofs, a lot of other heights. And one of the occasions, I actually fell through a roof. I hurt my left arm. So those are part of the experiences in making sure people had internet service in those cities, particularly in Port Harcourt. In Abuja, we were trying to start out something there. It didn't quite work out. The company was very slow in starting up, and at the point they didn't pay me for 6 months, actually, for 5 months. And then suddenly they told me to move to Lagos to start a hotspot in Lagos, and I started a hotspot almost single-handedly in Lagos, in a place called, I can't remember the name of that place, but it was near Adeni Jones. So after the treatment I got from that company, I I got the opportunity, what happened was I had been praying, doing a lot of things. I never was idle, really. I once went to Ogun State to explore opportunities with someone who wanted to start a phone company. One of the days I was doing that, on my way back, of course, to prayers and all that, I met a colleague of mine in a bus. She said she was leaving Airtel for Schlumberger. She was leaving Airtel for Schlumberger as a contract staff. She said, would I be interested in the role? That's how I got the job at Airtel. That's how I got some of my jobs, weird stuff. So I said, okay, fine. Then she said I should send my CV. That was a Friday afternoon. I was going back home, and then I sent my CV. On Monday afternoon, I was working with the company I had gone to Good City to work for. I had to go and buy something in Victoria Island, right? Yeah, I believe it's Victoria Island. And then I had to go and buy some equipment. And while I was there, I was dressed in jeans, brown jeans, and a t-shirt. A polo t-shirt, that's with a collar. And I was told that I was called by Airtel that I should come for an interview. I said, I wasn't even dressed for an interview. They didn't tell me on time. This was I should come by 2 p.m. And I was 1 p.m. and I was on the island. I lived in Satellite Town then. I was just complaining, but she said I should just come like that. When I got there, I was wearing jeans and t-shirt. Everybody was looking at me because everybody was wearing their suits, speaking their nice English, all that. And but eventually I got the job. I got the job as a service desk agent. And that is how I grew there, but it was a contract job. Over time, I came in with two other young people. Over time, they got permanent positions as level 6 staff in Airtel. I remember the reason why I put Abiola Jimo there was because there was an incident I had with him that played out into how I rose up in Airtel also. So the incident was basically, at that time I had joined Covenant. That was about 2009. I had joined Covenant, and I had been learning from Pastor Boju the concept of what is described in Colossians chapter 3, I believe, where it says that whatever you do it with all your heart, as unto the Lord and not unto men, knowing that from the Lord you shall receive the reward of the inheritance. I will never forget that statement. The reward of the inheritance, which means God giving you what is yours. And I learned that a lot from Pastor Boju, and I was working as if I was earning a lot. Meanwhile, I was a contract staff, earning little. And one of the days I was at the office around 7 p.m., Abiola Jimo came to the office. That was at that time. We were now at what do you call it? Is it where you have Guinness? Where you have Guinness? Where you have the church now? Where we have the church. Airtel used to have an office there where the contact center was. And you see, Igomu, yeah, that's Igomu. So he started scolding me that why am I still here by this time? That all my mates have been promoted, they didn't promote me. Why am I always here? Why am I spending so much time in the office, this and this? And I felt it, but the encouragement, the teachings I had been hearing from Pastor Boju encouraged me. And those times, Pastor Boju used to say that there are certain times you enter into a depression. That's the best time to declare words, to declare certain words, to encourage yourself and to affirm what God was already doing in your life. So I was encouraged, and I kept doing what I did. And what happened was, eventually, when I got the permanent position, at that time, there were certain changes in Airtel. Airtel became Zain. Airtel outsourced IT to a company called ITS, and it gave me the opportunity to become service desk supervisor, and that was a level 5 position, according to my salary was like tripled in that single instance, And that was how I became, I got mainstream into service management and became the service lead. I was managing 9 people. It was difficult because I was used to, relating with machines. And these were staff who were from the contact center, and they were already angry with the organization. So it was difficult to manage them, but I survived. And from there, I moved on to application support. So moving on to application support was a big move for me. In fact, at that time it was mostly Indians that were managing, because from ITS, and one of them asked me that he didn't know I had experience with application support. He felt, some people brand you like that, and you feel that you need to stay in a particular place for a long time. It's not necessary, especially these days. Sometimes you have to just take up a challenge and move into it and learn as you go. So I got into application support. The primary system I was supporting was a Remedy. Airtel was using Remedy for service management, that's IT service management, as well as for the contact center custom CRM. They had a customized form. And that time you could configure Remedy. With what you call the administration tool. That means you could create new forms, you could create new workflows and all that. And I started experimenting with that a lot. On one occasion, there was a man called Wale, I've forgotten his surname. The vendor was BMC. No, not BMC this time around. The vendor was Cybermark, because BMC, the way they do the way they sell Remedy, they have vendors who deploy on their behalf. Cybermark was working with us on behalf of BMC Remedy. So on one occasion, they sent an email, a long email to Wale. He was one of the top C-level guys in Airtel. That they noticed that someone has been tampering with the code in the Remedy installation for contact center. That they will not be responsible for any, damages that occur due to untrained people handling and all that. So he he sent the mail to my boss, Anne Abionu, and came down to our floor and started talking about it. But the way he talked about it, he said, look, that is like they have realized that we are learning the thing. So, when you start learning software that is deployed by a vendor, you may be taking away some work from them. For example, if instead of the company saying, do this for us, they know that there's somebody in-house who can do. So they felt threatened. And that was the way I did my job. I pushed to learn. I pushed to learn things, experimented a lot, and tried to grow. And I was also doing that at that time with SQL Server. And I got the prompting in 2010 to learn SQL Server. I got it it was almost like an inspiration that came to me that I should learn SQL Server. I procrastinated a lot, but then eventually I had the first certification then, and then I kept procrastinating again. So eventually in 2011, in the middle of 2011, on a certain occasion, someone who had left Airtel and come to Accra to work for eProcess called a man called Desola. Desola was one of the top guys too. He was on the 5th floor, we were on the 4th floor. And he said he wanted somebody who knew SQL Server. As soon as Desola came to the floor, he asked, and then another guy called Yinka pointed in my direction. So that is how I got the opportunity to come to eProcess Accra. They interviewed me. I had 3 interviews over the phone from middle of 2011 up till November. On November 22nd of 2011, that's when I got my offer letter from eProcess Accra. And they basically inviting me. And around that time, I was now hurrying to write the remaining, an additional certification exam for SQL Server. I was now hurrying to write it as well because I had done a lot of procrastination. So by January 2nd, 2012, that's when I joined eProcess as a database administrator. I was focused on SQL Server. And I'll share 1 or 2 things that happened when I came in. Because there was a lot of politics about a certain system called Postilion. Postilion was the switch and it was running off SQL Server. And the existing database administrators were Oracle DBAs. So everybody was dodging. They didn't want the trouble that came with it. And the first time I walked into the switch room in eProcess, someone actually explicitly laughed and said they have brought another masquerade. Is that the kind of problems they were having. They had even laughed that, oh, they have brought another person to come and try, So, but eventually, over a period of months, I did some work on it based on what I knew and what I learned in that process. I didn't come into eProcess as a perfect expert. I came into eProcess, I faced certain challenges that made me work towards becoming better and better in SQL Server. And in the course of 6 months, around the 6th month of my stay there, I had done something called defragmentation in the environment with the large databases. And I had also done what you call address windowing extensions. I learned about address windowing extensions in Airtel, and then I decided how to implement it in eProcess, address windowing extensions for SQL Server. And as soon as I did it, there was a significant change. The next day, in the performance particularly of Postilion, The next day, the head of the postilion team came down, and he was a Zimbabwean from Zimbabwe. His name is Pivot. And he asked me, he said, "What did you do to the server that made it go so fast?" So that's when I started explaining about how address window extension works, and basically it was basically the fact that they were sitting on a 32-bit system, and I had to configure SQL Server to be able to use more than 2 gig of memory, because in the address space for a 32-bit system was limited to 2 gig. So I did all that, and it skyrocketed the performance, and it was impressive. That's one of the things we did there. All right, so basically, I now worked up my way in eProcess as DBA until I became the lead. I became the lead DBA, I believe, the lead DBA for operations. I believe that was 2018 when my boss at that time left. I became the lead acting head and worked for some time there. I split the team into individual units so that people's roles were better defined and all that, until the opportunity came for me to enter into enterprise architecture. That was June 2012. And the opportunity came in a weird way, but it all worked out for good. And I was now an enterprise architect team. And that is what a little bit of what I do there is what I'm going to share with you